So welcome to the next speaker, Pavla Holcová. And Pavla is, wait, here we go. Pavla Holcová, and is it Holcová or Holcová? You have to correct me, everybody else but me knows where to put the weight. Pavla is an investigative journalist and the founder of Investigace in the CZ in the Czech Republic. And she is also a regional editor for OCCRP, the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, which I suppose many people have heard of, if not everybody. Pavla is going to speak about a case where a journalist and his fiancée were killed, which is something that all of us have heard of. And what I find so encouraging and uplifting is that Pavla and a large group of colleagues didn't stop there, but you actually kept working on the case, on the court case. And that's what you're going to speak about today. Welcome, Pavla Holcová.
Thank you. Yes, I'm not going to, yes, well, actually, I'm going to talk about the case, but much more I'm going to talk about how we handled the follow-up of the case, about a project that we called Kočner's Library, originally about 70 terabytes of data that we collected during our own investigation into what happened and why Ján Kuciak and Martina were killed. And I'm going to share my screen because I will have like very simple presentation, rather for me than for the others. Not to share screen. Okay, so could you see my screen? Could you please confirm?
Yes, we see your screen fine.
Okay. So it started with the murder of a friend and colleague and a journalist I work closely, Ján Kuciak. You know, when he was killed, it sent a shockwave not only through us as a journalistic community, but also through the whole society, not only in Slovakia, but also in Czech Republic. And because we did not really trust Slovak police by then, and recent development in Slovakia is showing that the lack of trust was correct. We decided we are going to do our own investigation into what happened and why Ján had to die, because we believed it was because of his investigative work, what later proved the right thing. So right after Ján was killed, we created something like emergency team. Those were people, my colleague Eva, who is Slovak, but she's working with us in Prague, journalist herself, and one of the best friends of Ján, and other people from OCCRP, including some of the tech guys. The leader of the team was a guy, my colleague, who is originally from Ukraine, and who actually had already such a sad experience in investigating the murder of a colleague. He was the one who was investigating the murder of Pavel Sheremet from Ukraine, a journalist who actually exploded in his car. So the emergency team, composed of about, at the end it was about 5 people, was put on the first plane or train and went directly to Slovakia. This emergency team went to Bratislava and then to Velká Mača. Velká Mača is the village where Ján was murdered. And they collected the first 24 terabytes of data. Already 24 terabytes of data, it's a lot. They conducted hours of interviews and they collected the core of this group of data, what was the CCTV footage. So from Velká Mača. So we've got 24 terabytes of data CCTV footage. So what actually you can do with it, because it's crazy amount of data, crazy amount of footage. It's like you can just watch it for a month and still, you know, getting lost in it. So the team went to Velká Mača and actually walked in the streets of the Velká Mača, checking what are important spots we should follow and where the cameras are being placed. They put it on a map so we can understand actually which camera is showing what. But it wasn't enough, you know, to have those places where the cameras are. So they needed to go back and they needed to actually take picture of every camera to see the position towards the position it's actually filming. They put on a map those dots where you show where the cameras are and in which direction they are pointing, so you can get better orientation from the pictures. Also, what they did, they took pictures, you know, what the camera can actually see, so we can identify what we actually see on the footage. We can identify, wow, this is this street, we need to follow it because then we will understand what's going on and who walked through and if this is important or not. When we put this all on a map and try to watch all the CCTV footage, it was just completely crazy, because you've got like this super boring CCTV footage from a village where there's actually nothing much happening, and you are just staring at it for hours and hours, and then, you know, then a man walks, and then you are staring you are just staring at it for another 2 or 3 hours, and then there is a car. So we decided that we will need to find a better way how to deal with the footage. And the better way was actually that we tested what can artificial intelligence do for us. If the artificial intelligence can actually somehow compact the CCTV footage and somehow extract only the things that we would like to see, you know, that we won't need to watch the empty street where nothing is happening. And we created a neural network that was, you know, with the help of a colleague who's specialist on artificial intelligence and machine learning. He created neural network and started to feed those data to the neural network. So at the end, the plan was to get at the end only the frames of the CCTV footage that we can reuse, or that are carrying some information that's important for us. What means car crossing, people crossing, date and time, and like 3 frames before any action is happening on the street. So we invested in this great effort and energy and time, and still it didn't help, because we found out that actually the way to process this CCTV footage through artificial intelligence takes the same time as actually really watching the CCTV footage as a humans. So it didn't save us time, and we needed to find another way how to do it. 6 months after the murder happened, we were just desperate, because we saw that there's no official public progress in the investigation, and the police investigators did a couple of, you know, mistakes that we just did not understand. I was taken for interrogation twice. They seized my cell phone. At the right after the crime, at the crime scene, they tampered with the evidence, they moved the bodies, they opened the windows because first they believe it's a gas leak, so they need to put some fresh air into the room. And the pathologist set the time of the death like 2 days wrong. And it was all like really, really weird and fishy situation that didn't really bring much trust into the steps of the police and into the police investigation. So we decided that we really need to focus and we really need to do something about it. So we started to conduct interviews. We interviewed the families, we interviewed the friends, we interviewed people who were living in the village when Ján and Martina were killed. And it just, took plenty of a time, but we started to get some picture of what was going on and what happened. 9 months after the murder happened, 3 guys were arrested, 3 main suspects, and it later turned out that those were really those people who pulled the trigger. And it was a great progress, it was a great relief, but still we had our hesitations, because if you look at statistics, the murder of a journalist is one of the most difficult to investigate by the police, and actually not only find the people who pulled the trigger, but also the guy who hired them. So we had those guys, we were happy, but we knew it was just the first step. One of them started to cooperate with the police, what really made the situation better and made the progress. For the first anniversary of the murder, we were already able to establish how the murder happened, based on the interrogations and the information those 3 people provided, and also based on our own investigation. We, Eva and I, have written a detailed article about what happened, how it happened, and why it happened. You can read it on OCCRP website. It's about the murder itself, but we didn't stop there. 18 months after the murder happened, we just got a source who called me one day in the morning and said, "Hey, you are based out of Slovakia, what is great, and I want to give you the full copy, including all the annexes of the police investigation into the murder of Ján." And I was like, wow, like, how much is it? And the source told me, it's 70 terabytes of data. You would need to come to Slovakia and copy it, but you need to be very careful. It was a couple of months before elections, and the material was highly sensitive because it implied that many of the powerful people of Slovakia were maybe involved, not only by probably not in the murder itself, but in other criminal activities. And yes, so we needed to find a way. So once again, I approached our tech team at OCCRP, who are great guys and creative guys, and I told them, guys, I have a source who's going to leak us 70 terabytes of data. And they said, like, what, 70 terabytes? It's more than actually our whole OCCRP archive has right at the moment. But anyway, they found a way how to really copy the data and transfer it. But it was unprecedented amount of data, just something to compare. The whole Panama Papers project, it was altogether about 4 terabytes of data. This is like really, really, really much more, almost 20 times more. So they needed to find a way how to process the data and make it accessible to people who are not so into tech. And there were a couple of things that surprised us, me as well as the tech team. And you know, they wrote even a technical article that's actually giving some insights in how to deal with such an amount of data. And they called the article "How to Eat an Elephant," because it was really big amount of data. So the first surprising thing was that the data has gravity, what means, you know, you need to carry it around, the hard drives or the SSD or whatever. And it's actually 70 terabytes is actually quite heavy if you need to carry it around. I was carrying it only around Prague, and it was, my guess is it was something like 20 kilograms. So first we needed to find a way how to copy it, and then we needed to find a way how to move it around, because actually it's much more simple to move someone around than those 70 terabytes of data. Just to copy it, it would take months. So we found a way, and we created we set up 7 Raspberry Pi small computers that were actually copying the 7 10 terabytes external hard drives to another 7 10 terabytes external hard drives at the same time, what really speeded up the process. So the copying itself took only something like 4 days altogether. And then you have this large amount of data, and you start to go over it, and you need to sort it out just to know what's in there. So the step 2 was sorting it out, and then we understood that 27.6 terabytes is a video. Once again, it was the CCTV footage from Velká Mača, from the village where Jano and Martina were killed. Then 12 terabytes, those were the full images of a hard drives, USBs, laptops, cell phones, computers, and so on. Then there were another things, but we knew that the images of computers and hard drives and cell phones are going to be key for our investigation. So they help us to sort out the things, what we need to understand and what we need to know. And because it was really a plenty of data, we had talks with our partner center in Bratislava, Investigative Centrum Jána Kuciaka, Ján Kuciak's Investigative Center, that was by then set up. And I talked to Arpad Šoltes about it, and we decided that we need to give access to this kind of data and to this amount of data to all journalists in Slovakia we fully trust and who have high ethical standards, and at the same time who understand cooperation and who may have some insights into such a project. Another challenge was how to do it in a secure way, because we understood that there will be a lot of risk dealing with this data, and there will be plenty of people who would rather see this data deleted and destroyed and not published. So we made something that we called access room. It was a safe room in one building in Bratislava when the journalists can come and study Kočner's library, what means they can go through the sorted data and create their own stories based on this. But the condition of this cooperation was that whatever information that may be interesting for the others you find there, you need to share it in our secure platforms and talk to the others. And if you are ever going to publish some groundbreaking article based on this data, please let others know so they can join you. So at the end, we also needed to create our own tools for displaying the data in a way that we can work with it. There were encrypted chats on cell phones, there were geotags and so on. So we created our own tools really simply one, how to read the data in the data set of 70 terabytes from private cell phones and private conversations that should never be there. So the impact of the project so far is that within this Kočner's library, we have probably the best investigative journalism team in Slovakia, because great journalists from all major trustworthy media are taking part in these projects. And as a result of the public pressure that was there after publishing the stories all together, what multiplies the impact was that the politicians stepped down, the judges stepped down or were detained, police officers stepped down and now are in pre-trial detention. But the people who were the lead suspects and who were charged with the murder, like the ones who ordered the murder, they were actually cleared. It's on appeal, so we are still fighting, but we need to go and review once again most of the data to find out if there's any other evidence that we can present during the appeal. That's probably it about the Kočner's Library project. I will stop sharing. I did stop sharing, right? It's me again.
Thank you so much, Pavla. This was deeply moving also. I mean, it's fascinating from a journalistic point of view, and I always find it moving and important when journalists keep the work of and by and for colleagues going if such thing as this killing happened. There is one remark rather than a question in the Q&A, which I'll hand over to you. It says, "Dear Pavla, hugs and best wishes from Atanas Chobanov and from me as well, Elena Czerniawska."
Hello.
And then there's another question, and it is, weren't you afraid of your lives? And that's actually also something that I was thinking about. I mean, you were investigating a murder case. Were you afraid of your lives? And maybe I could add to this question, you were several times referring to the colleagues in the OCCRP network and the collaboration between different investigative centers. Would that be an aspect that was helping you to, well, strengthening you basically in this work?
Definitely it was. Yeah, I need to admit at the beginning that first month of the investigation, I was actually living under police protection because one of the leads during the investigation was that Italian mafia might be behind the murder. So I was put in some kind of police protective custody. That's why I was not part of the emergency team. But yes, we were warned a couple of the times that that we may be in danger, but we really took all the precautions that we could think of. Every time anyone from the team felt that he's being followed, we actually did the counter-surveillance procedures. And the fact that actually there's a whole team dealing with the data. So if you would, you would need to actually kill something like 15 to 20 journalists to prevent the story, and that would be quite a massacre.
So the collaboration was helpful.
The collaboration was definitely one tool how we protected ourselves, collaboration and sharing of all the data and findings.
The next question is from Elena Czerniawska. Did you feel the pressure from the investigating agencies like prosecutors, etc.? Was there pressure?
No, I think the pressure was actually reversed. They felt the pressure, our pressure on them, and they time to time complained about it. But we did not feel any pressure from their side, except that they were not really happy that we are publishing those data. Because they said, oh, we always know it better and sooner than us.
There was a competition of who unveiled
They actually complained that they are just two of them, the prosecutors, and we are the team of something like 15 journalists, so that they can't really compete.
Yeah. Before, also on the security aspect, you said that every time a team member felt that they were followed, you applied security measures. Could you elaborate a bit on these security measures?
Yes, it's a basic knowledge when you look at the assassinations of journalists. Usually they report shortly before they are killed that they felt they are being followed. So every time someone felt that he's being followed, we really checked if it is right or not. We even sent a team of people to check if anyone is followed or not, who were actually providing kind of this work of counter surveillance, just to understand what's going on in the environment.
So you would be again in a team effort.
It was once again team effort. We needed to send people who are not known as being part of the team, who are outsiders. Otherwise, they will attract too much attention. That's what we didn't want. So we sent people who were not so known, just to check if everything is okay.
Yeah. And here are one remark and one question from Anna Gielewska. First, she says, huge respect for this enormous work. And then the question is, after the first bad experience with AI, did you have a second one? Was it better? And do you think it will work out at the end in such investigations to apply artificial intelligence?
Definitely, but we probably need to hand it in a slightly different way, and actually be ready for the fact that the artificial intelligence can recognize what is a car and what is a dustbin, because at the first trials, we had a lot of false positive on people, dustbins, cars, and different objects that we are not really following. But I believe, yeah, that's the future. One of the possible branches of investigative journalism to be able to actually process large amount of videos and somehow evaluate it and analyze it.
Where would you turn to find an AI expert?
Well, there are plenty of them, we as a Czech, as Investigace.cz, we recently did an interview with a girl who is expert on artificial intelligence and who wants to create such a hub of artificial intelligence in Prague. So I guess it's going to be more and more common to have people who do understand it and are willing to help with the ideas, or maybe even practical help with some applying of artificial intelligence for your help.
Yeah. Well, I will second Anna and surely all the others to admire your work, and close with one question, and that's how do you take care of the journalists? I mean, the journalists in your team. Some of this is potentially traumatizing to experience, to think about. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I totally fail in this. I should probably be much more attentive to those needs. But fortunately, my colleagues took care of themselves. So only later we talk about this traumatic experience of someone who was really close to us being murdered for being journalist. And I discovered that I really need to take care, and I really need to listen more to very tiny signals that those people need some kind of specific attention, or rest, or maybe just good listener who will listen to them.
To the debriefing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Pavla. It's however sad the background, this is a very encouraging and pioneering work, I'd say. And we can all meet in the LinkedIn group afterwards for questions. And I can see that Dagmar Kasper is ready, and so I assume we'll wrap up here and say thank you very much, and I'll wish you a good continued conference.